question is the motion be agreed to, and I give the call to the member for Cunningham.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker, and I am very pleased to rise to support the motion moved by the member for Griffith on the cuts to university funding. I appreciated the member for Hinkler going through the numbers. Those opposite always do is say, oh, if you look from this year to that year, the number gets bigger, and completely fail to recognise, firstly, that population increases will drive that, but also, secondly, that in fact there may be a thing called inflation, which means that the amount of money and the capacity to utilise that to provide spaces for students is actually decreased if you don't seriously address the funding that's required. And indeed, that's exactly what the government has done. There is a $2.2 billion cut to universities across the country. The member for Hinkler talked about the University of Sunshine Coast, and I'll leave it to my colleague, who I'm sure knows a great deal about regional Queensland. But I would be very, very surprised if any of us who have university campuses in their electorates have got those universities, including the University of Sunshine Coast, saying, oh yeah, there's no cut, there's no problem, we don't have any issue with the government's funding. I would suggest that it is exactly the opposite. In my own state, in New South Wales, universities are losing $736 million in funding. In my own seat, the University of Wollongong will lose $51 million in funding. And that means as the new university year starts after Christmas, as students start looking to enrol at university, there are hard decisions for those universities on the back of these funding cuts. And I have to say that for my own university, it's been a fairly poor investment by this government since they were first elected. I'm very proud that under Labor governments federally, we've seen significant investment in my university that's actually driving not only opportunities for students to study, but also for our regional economy as a regional city to develop and grow. And there's been some great initiatives working with local businesses. For example, we put just over $25 million into the Sustainable Buildings Research Centre at the University of Wollongong, doing excellent work on renewables, and I want to talk about a little project at the end of my speech that's been a great example of that. The Australian Institute of Innovative Materials, which turned 10 recently, and I celebrated with them, we put $42.8 million into that institute. The SMART facility, which does infrastructure work, $35 million. And the Early Start facility, which in the education space is a great facility on early education, $31 million. So we've been investing in regional universities when we were in government. We've been supporting students, many like myself, who were the first in their family to go to university to get that opportunity. By contrast, we had these cuts that the member for Griffith has been rightly so critical about. And I want to say the member for Hinkler also mentioned the other post-secondary sector, the technical further education, our TAFEs and VET providers, particularly through apprenticeships and traineeships, but more broadly the further education, people who are looking to get a second chance at learning, are critically important, and the government has cut $3 billion out of that sector over the time that they have been in government. And you've seen the result of that. You've seen over 140,000 fewer apprentices and trainees actually available across this country. And so while we now had this very rushed announcement about some sort of review of the sector led by somebody from New Zealand, whose record was he was known as Mr Fix-It and he cut billions out of the sector in New Zealand, I can't help but think that there is only more cuts on the way for the sector. So in the final small amount of time I have, I want to say there's a group called Team University of Wollongong. It's a joint initiative between university and TAFE students in my electorate who competed in the Solar Decathlon, an international competition that was held in Dubai, having designed a house called the Desert Rose. It's a house designed not only to have renewable energies, but also to be designed to be dementia-friendly. And in this international competition, only just wound up, our team came second in the world. And congratulations to all of them. It was a big target because the last competition they won, but a second is absolutely wonderful.
I thank the member